Hello folks, Brandon Chapman with you here today. It's the Theo nightly video for June 28th, 2021. Title of today's session is Facebook's $1 trillion valuation is dangerously skewed. So we'll kind of look at the areas of movement today, what that means for the broader market. Of course, as you look at the ES, of course, we're kind of higher, finished relatively strong on today's session as we ramped the last couple hours of trading. Again, testing a new all-time high in the S&P 500 futures. Now, as you look at some of the downstream products, like, for example, SPY, for example, we're still, again, right there at a new all-time high, eclipsing levels. We saw a very large print back on the 15th around that 424 area. We finally kind of took it out, and we're edging higher. Now, as you think about what the market's doing right now, this is probably to be expected, and we'll talk more about that as we go through this video. But anyway, first off, as you look at the sectors, you'll notice that communications and technology really topped the list today. And so as you think of what stocks really dominate those two sectors, of course, you can't avoid the fact that Facebook is one of those stocks that are preeminent, up 4% today. So good news came from the FTC. The anti-monopoly lawsuit has dropped, allowed the stock to eclipse a $1 trillion valuation. It's just crazy to think about. Facebook at $1 trillion. What do? They sell ads, okay? Is there an underlying business other than that? Probably not much. It's ads, ads, ads. And are we going to continue to see this growth in a stock like Facebook when ad growth normally is about 2 to 3% a year historically? But today, some bullish activity, and now that's kind of moved in the money from where it was earlier today. It was at 2 July, 352.50 is kind of where the interest came in. But again, really nice move today in Facebook. And that wasn't the only one of the monsters of tech. Apple was up a little bit today as well, finishing about 1.25% higher. We were kind of following and tracking activity in Apple back on the 3rd and 4th, hit the target. We're starting to bounce again today. We saw interest come in yet last week around 138, 139, and we're seeing that coming again today. It was a 9 July 140. And so, again, while we're kind of late in the move here, a 140 would get you about back to the prior high. So we're kind of opening up that next level here, maybe another 4 or 5 points to squeeze out of Apple towards 140, which puts that area of retesting prior highs, although not quite at its high from January 25th at about 145. But doesn't mean we can't stretch to that point. But some near-term bullish activity in Facebook and Apple. However, it wasn't all great for the monsters of tech. For example, Google. Google today received some disappointing news. The Biden administration is investigating their display ad business. So again, advertising, Facebook, Google, kind of going two different directions here. Didn't create a lot of weakness. There was a kind of momentary kind of rip lower here, just kind of after that. And again, we kind of finished about even on the session. So nothing big, but something to watch. I mean, Google has been one of the outperformers of the monsters of tech along with Facebook. But again, is this kind of the news that may cause us to see a little bit of a retracement here, which would probably be positive for the company and positive for the market in general, because things are getting a little crazy here, right? Facebook up 4%. Well, guess what? As you consider what's going on in the background, let's go to the let's go to the VIX here. As you look at volatility measures, I mean, the VIX is scraping the bottom of the barrel at 15.72. As you look at the term structure of the VIX, so we're going to get a ratio of 3-month VIX to 1-month VIX, and we got to bring up a pairs ratio study here. But the idea is that we're coming off very, very high levels. You'll notice today we finished at about 1.2, meaning that the 3-month VIX is 20% higher than the spot VIX and 30-day VIX. So anyway, what does that tell you? Markets pricing in higher volatility in the future. And this is the pièce de résistance. As you look at the SKEW, during my session, I talked about SKEW a fair bit, just trying to discuss what it is. A major, major move on Friday's session, eclipsing 170. I mean, this is not only a record high, this is just blowout. It's unthinkable. And we spent about an hour, 45 minutes talking about what SKEW is and what this means for the market. In general, it means more frequent small up days, but with that crash risk, that tail risk. What's happening right now is just a tremendous amount of hedging, and we just keep watching this tick higher as the tail gets longer and longer and longer. At what point does this tail start to wag the dog of the S&P and we start to see some major correction? I have no idea when that is, but right now there's a lot of these volatility indicators that are really screaming a lot of caution. When we look at VVIX, again, so as the volatility VIX, if this ticks back up above 110, that'd be another indication that we're kind of reaching a very critical point right now for the market. So as the S&P is testing new all-time highs, we're seeing a lot of downside protection being placed right now and a general unwillingness to sell. Now, as we look at the sector breakdown, certainly we can explain communications and technology, but the technology run was actually more broader based. A lot of stocks in that kind of gaming technology, in semiconductors, NVIDIA today saw some decent upside. It just continues to churn. There was a more bullish activity in the options side with this one. You got your Take-Twos, for example, of nicely kind of coming off its support. And if you start to look at a list of the S&P 500, you'll start to see these, right? NVIDIA, Viacom, and their Etsy, ATVI up another 3% today. EA, Electronic Arts, nice bounce today. You got Applied Materials in there as well. LRCX, a lot of semiconductors as part of that. You'll also know some healthcare and Abbott, for example, and utilities. And the utilities is where it's kind of interesting, right? So when you look at the sector breakdown, certainly communications and technology and kind of maybe some sympathetic movement in broader technology names, utilities is up there at 0.64%, while as financials are down here and energy was by far the weakest today in the market. Now, as you consider some of the energy space, for example, some stocks that I've been following, NRG, there's been a lot of bullish activity. We've been following NRG since down here at the lows. Again, more bullish activity. The July 41s basically traded up to it and closed to there today. VST, this is one that was on my top-down Friday watch list since the lows down here. Took it off on Friday. Up again today, kind of breaking out. Our original target was a 20 handle on VST, and the interest came in today at the August 20 expiration for VST. So again, maybe upside here from about 1880 to 20. Again, it's utility stock. What do you expect? It's not a high flyer, but maybe about another $1.20 more of upside here, maybe even pushing towards the 61% retracement of the decline. And another one here in First Energy, FE. First Energy had pulled back a little bit, started to catch a bit on Friday. It's up again today on First Energy. You know, a little bit out of the money at the 39 strike, basically looking at us, getting back to our prior highs. So the broader, rally in utilities has not been as broadly felt as Southern was down today, or like a Duke Energy was up a little bit. But these more, kind of second tier utilities companies have continued to see a lot of strength, like NRG and VST, and First Energy has been relatively strong all along. Another one that's interesting here as well is Clorox. Clorox has been an underperformer. It took out its support, and you'll see that the last 2 days we're seeing really strong kind of bounce backs here. I really thought we'd get back up here to 220. We kind of faded back. We took it off here, and then what? We're coming roaring back here on CLX. It was a July 190. So again, very, some interest coming in as the price is moving up. We had strong volume yesterday at that 190 strike. Again, chance for the near-term push in Clorox towards, possibly 195, maybe again 200 here. We got some historical resistance around 190 as well. So again, looking pretty strong in the near term. And then along with it, there's just a lot of short covering stuff. So for example, like a BYND, for example, these are some of your highest short interest names in the market. Again, they're weekly options are being traded. Stocks are kind of breaking out today. It's hard to really look at these and say, but there might be some strength this week with some of these very high short interest names. Workhorse, Fisker is another one today. A lot of it, slightly out of the money, like Fiskars at 2 July 22. Tilray's one we've been watching for a little while. It was up today about 2.3%. It was about 10,000 traded at the 2 July 19. QuantumScape, this is a solid-state battery technology. We've seen a lot of trades in this one, high short interest as well, above 20%. Has not really caught a significant bid like some of these other names, but again, today, a 2 July 30. So again, slightly in the money on this one, but it just continues to build here. And we were kind of originally looking down here to possibly getting back to around 65. We'll see how it moves. But again, we're seeing continued interest in a lot of these high short interest names as maybe some covering, right? Going back to the well, along with like a Viacom as well, up nicely at 5% today, had some good interest as well. So as you think about where things are going, again, maybe some near-term short covering as the market tries to inch higher. But again, some of the underlying trends in utilities, and I think Clorox as well, looks pretty strong here for some near-term bullish activity. Apple maybe pushing to 140. Two that are not setting up all that well is a CCL, for example, down about 7% today. You had a July 24 come in. So again, we're people taking some downside shots on CCL and RCL. So RCL was a July 78. So we're starting to open up these lower levels of support. Little flag breakouts in RCL and CCL, looking for some lower price action, testing the lower end of the range over the last several months here. So are we starting to get, disengaged from a lot of these reopening type stocks? It certainly appears to be that way. They're going to technology as yields, for example, you look at the 10-year today, was down 3.78% or about 0.58, so 0.05 basis points. Sorry, that's not right. Anyway, you got it. Down 0.58. The yield curve did flatten here today as 30 years outperformed 10 and 10 outperformed a 5-year treasury. All the complex was down in yield, up in price, but again, flattened as the 5, 10, and 30 came closer together, which is negative for financials, although you did see some bullish activity come in. Did not really confirm with the price, but at that 23 July 21. So maybe someone's speculating on some upside here, maybe, or whatever the case may be, but the price did not really confirm, and we're seeing strength in utilities as being one of the top performing sectors. So I hope that gives you some stocks and areas to look at here. And again, I think the market, as we're testing highs, the high degree of SKEW just points to the significant potential downside to the market. And at some point here, we're going to start to realize that we're going to continue to watch for sector rotation into more of those defensive names. But the fact that utilities was as high as it was today is certainly not a bad thing to look at. And finally, we'll round out with Abbott here. So Abbott had a nice bullish day. It also had some bullish upside activity at the 115 strike, and approaching at the money here. We've closed the gap. And so you have Abbott going one way, and then MDT on the bearish end today, as there was some downside bearish activity on the put side. As you look at gold, for example, gold did not move. As we look at the dollar index or the dollar index ETF, we're just consolidating the moment. We're trying to see where we go from here. So if the market continues higher, watch for gold to start to make a move higher if the dollar starts to sag or weaken. This could be a pretty nice setup for GLD in the near term. So that's something we'll kind of watch this week and see if anything materializes. Anyway, folks, that's all for today's video. Have a great one. We'll see you back tomorrow. Thank you.